Okay, so today we welcome a new ride to our stable here. This is the new scooter, which is a Suzuki Skydrive crossover, automatic. That's my old scooter, my Kymco 125 Super 8, which is now 11 years old and has 75,000 kilometers on it. Still going, I wouldn't say strong, but it's still going. It looks better on this side than it looks on the other side, where it's picked up quite a lot of damage when a guy on a bicycle drove into the side of me, and damage down here where the very bad roads of Samal originally did a lot of damage to the under tray and the panel at the bottom there. In addition to that, it's had 2 or 3 falls, as you'd expect in 11 years of riding, but those just brought about a few scratches and things. Let's have a look at the new Skydrive. So one of the first differences you notice immediately is that it's a single headlight, whereas my Kymco had twin headlights. If you look at the top, you'll see that it's got what they call naked handlebars, whereas mine has got a cowling around it. And it did have a visor on the top there, but that's fallen off a couple of times, although I've still got it, but I haven't got around to fitting it back on. What else? So disc brake on the front and a drum brake on the rear. Disc brake on the front and drum brake on the rear. So one of the other differences here is this one's actually comes fitted with slightly off-road tyres, which is nice, whereas my Kymco originally came with street tyres. For a long time, for about maybe 9 years, I fitted knobbly tyres to it to cope with the Samal roads. One of the big problems with the Kymco is what I actually thought was a benefit, which is that at the back there you can see it's got twin shocks, which actually gives it a very firm ride on Samal's roads. So you tend to bounce around quite a lot when you're going any kind of speed, and also on rough roads it tends to be quite uncomfortable, whereas this has got a single shock which is very soft. So I've only driven it around the garden so far, but it's very soft and compliant on both front and rear. There's lots of spring in it, so it should be much better off-road, especially with those tyres. The other big difference that this has got is the display on it. It's a TFT display, which is actually very nice. So if I turn that on, you can see there's quite a lot of information on there. It's actually quite easy to read. It's nice and big, which is nice. Whereas on my old Kymco, it's just an old conventional display on there. You can see the 75,000 kilometers. The petrol gauge is showing empty, but then it permanently shows empty because it hasn't hasn't functioned for a long time. The LCD display at the bottom faded out many years ago, but it still chugs along, still goes, still has its adventures, as you will have seen on my channel, where I've taken it on a lot of the roads around Samal over the years, many of which are very rough. What else we got on here? Okay, so I had to fit these new LED lights down here because the main headlights on this are very dim these days. I haven't quite figured out why they've become so dim, and I guess it's a wiring problem or a fuse problem. Anyway, these LEDs are, considering the size, are super bright, so much so that other drivers tend to complain about them and flash their headlights. This one's just got a single conventional bulb on it. What else? The other big difference here is the seat. So the seat itself is lower, If you compare it with the Kymco over there, the seat on this one is quite low, and it's much narrower. It's a very narrow seat, and there's almost no under seat storage. Whereas the Kymco, it's a much wider seat, much bigger seat, more comfortable, and has a lot of storage. You can get an open face helmet underneath that. Both of them up on their centre stand, so they both have centre stands and side stands. This one also up on its centre stand. Okay, so the other big difference is that the engine on the Super 8 over there is 125cc carburettor, whereas this one is 115cc electronic fuel injection. So according to some of the other bloggers in the Philippines who've been testing these or using these on Philippine roads, it actually looks like it could be a little bit faster than mine. Not that you get the chance to drive very fast in Philippine roads because they're quite rough. But this, I think the Skydrive will do well over 100 kilometers per hour. Well, I say well over 105, 110, something like that. Whereas on my Super 8, I think the fastest I ever dared go on it was about 95, but the roads were just so bad. Not bad roads, but just the cement was so uneven that I was bouncing between each section of the road, and so at 95 I thought that was probably already too fast. So the Kymco will cruise for a long time at 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, which is as much as I need. We've yet to take this one out and test this one on the road and see how it goes, so looking forward to that. And also the other thing that say this has got what they call a naked bike. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do on this is to actually fit a camera mount on the handlebars, so that my videos in future will be much easier to do. They'll be hands-free, whereas at the moment when I do my videos on this one, as I'm going around the island, I'm driving around one-handed, which means I've only got one brake that I can use as brake and throttle, and the other hand is carrying my camera. So it's not ideal, and a couple of times I've had to stop my journey recently because the road was too steep or too rough or too gravelly, and I just didn't have the confidence to drive in those kind of conditions with just one brake or one handlebar or one hand on the handlebar. So yeah, so that's the old scooter, which will continue. I'm going to keep that one until it completely dies. It's on its second engine now, so it's on its second or third CVT belt. But apart from that, and a slightly loose connection between the battery and the electric, so sometimes on a rough road it'll cut out but then restart straight away. So it's going to be nice to drive around on this one without those impediments, and having nice tyres, nice suspension, nice brakes, and hands-free use it for the camera. So yeah, look forward to testing and using this new scooter on the roads of Samal. We'll keep you up to date.